Welcome to another episode of Dad Can We Talk. I'm your host, Anthony Ray, and today we are recording episode 78. Hope I got that episode right, man. I always forget these episodes. Y'all know how I do, man. But man, I'm here with one of these brothers, man, that's near and dear to me. I've known him for it's been about 10 years now.
Yeah,
I think we met like 2010.
Yeah,
it's over.
Yeah.
So yeah, man, I've known this brother for about 12 years now, and the beginning of our relationship was a little rocky, to say the least. To say the least, it was a bit rocky, but I'm just glad to see where this brother is today, and to see all the things that he's doing, man. You know, if you go back to 2010 when we first met, and look at where we are in 2022, night and day, man. It's totally different, man. And I'm just proud to say I know this brother. But before I get into all this, the rest of this, I need for y'all to do me a favor. If you are a supporter of the podcast, go and subscribe to the podcast wherever it is that you get podcasts. If that be Spotify, Apple Podcasts, you can subscribe to us on YouTube. If you have Instagram, we're on Instagram at Dad Can We Talk. Facebook at Dad Can We Talk. I'm even on TikTok. I don't use it that much, but Dad Can We Talk on TikTok. I got a Twitter. Don't use that as much. I need to start using that more. Dad Can We Talk on Twitter. So we're out there, and you can find us on all those platforms. And I would appreciate it if you would follow, subscribe. If you see the posts that we make, like them, share them, whatever, man. You know, keep the conversation going. I got a lot of dads that I bring on this podcast that have stories that I believe that people need to hear, and people might want to hear them. So I definitely would appreciate if y'all could do that. One small little thing for me. It only take like one click most of the time. And it helps us tremendously. And if you are one of the faithful listeners to the podcast, it will be helpful. Also, if you leave reviews, leave comments, tell us how we can do better, man. It's always, I'm always open to suggestions and learning and just trying to do better. So I started this thing with no type of, no former background or nothing. So I just was off the cuffs, you know. And I've grown a little bit, you know, over the last 2.5 years that I've been doing this, but it's a lot more growth. So let me know how I'm doing, man, and things that I could do better. So that's definitely appreciated. But let's get back to business. So I'm here with my brother Terrell Jenkins, and this is one of my former supervisors, man. That's how we met. And when I tell y'all I used to give this brother hell, I used to give a brother hell, man. And I look back on it now like, dang, I used to be giving that man a hard time for no reason, man, over little petty stuff. But you know, we live and we learn. I was a jit at that time, man. I was like 22, 21.
Wow.
And I was a young man, and I had some stuff going on, a lot of stuff going on. And he used to get it, man. 4 o'clock in the morning, waking up, going to UP. Waking up. It's cold most of the time.
Yeah, or hot.
And hot.
Either or.
And man, I used to wake up with an attitude where it just had a unit on my face, and I was ready. I was ready every morning. Like, I'm finna get Terrell that work. I ain't gonna answer no questions that he asked me. And you know, that's just what it was, man. And I'm just thankful that I grew up out of that stuff right there, man. And we are where we are right now, sitting next to each other, and I'm ready to hear this brother's story, to see where he's come from, to hear the wisdom that this man has, because I know he has a lot that I can get from this, and I'm more than sure anyone else that might listen to this, it's a lot of wisdom that you will be able to get from this. So without further ado, man, welcome to the show, my man Terrell Jenkins. How you doing, bro?
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
A lot come to mind when you were just talking about not only our meeting, but your journey too, because I do remember back in that time, at the position that I was, it's hard for, you know, people in your position to see what I was seeing.
Yeah.
But I always tried to make it better for us and not just each individual. So that was the thing that it was kind of hard to communicate all the time. But if you notice, like our little group, we tend to perform a little bit better than the other ones. And I think it was because of the environment we tried to create, at least I did in my mind, about, you know, being us. But you were one of the standouts.
Yeah.
So not necessarily that I needed to push you, but I was just trying to help make sure that you were just being you. Mm-hmm. And then that your work area, because that's what we used to get into. Because it wasn't a question about you doing the work. It was the work area. It needed to be a certain way according to them, you know, who set the rules and everything. So I was just basically trying to be a buffer because I knew the boss lady was going to come around and see certain things. So I was trying to be proactive. And then, because I remember one time you said you was trying your life. I forget what. But I remember when you moved down to a different spot, and it was like when you were beginning your journey of just really following Christ to the degree that you are now. Yeah. And we were talking, and I forgot. I don't even know how we had this much time to be getting into it, but it was something I had mentioned about sin, and I was like, well, there's like no sin that you can do without a degree of selfishness or pride. Yeah. And then you said like selfishness, like you really thought about that, and you said it over and over a few times. And that showed me that you were a thinking person and that this journey that you were starting on was really serious and meaningful to you. So that says a lot about you too, because sometimes you can hear something and we can maybe let it go in one ear and out the other. But that's something that it seemed like you were writing something on your heart. Mm-hmm. And then you kept running with it, and you know, here we are today. And I think other things have been born and produced because of whatever you were going through at that time. Mm-hmm. And the thing about it is like, when you were Obadiah and on that podcast, and he was talking about the potatoes. Yeah. And love Big O, you know.
Yeah, that's my man right there. Shout out to Big O.
Yes, sir. But talking about the potatoes, he said that's all faith, you know, because it's under the ground and you don't know what's coming up until it, you know, a certain amount of time passed. Same thing with bamboo. You can plant that 5 years, you may not see anything. Once it breaks ground, it grows. It's the fastest growing plant or grass that we have on the planet, you know. So I think we can be like that, and that's kind of like how I saw you at that time. You know, like a potato. Well, I don't want to mention that too much because we bald headed and brown. So, but
I see it.
Yeah. But definitely, you know, it's like I always think about the idea of potential. It seeds of possibility. And you were a seed that were planted, and now you're grown. And I wouldn't imagine you haven't reached your full potential, but you are maximizing your potential, you know, to a certain degree to this point. So that's what a lot of what I saw as well in our team was just people in different places. But I was kind of like born wanting to save the world, and like trying to figure out, and still am to a degree, how I can help do that. But we're just realizing that everybody has a different level of potential, but they also operate at a certain level at a given time. Mm-hmm. And then it's so early in the morning, and most of us are not going to be our best selves. I'm not what you would call a morning person. Yeah. You know, I say there's normal people and morning people and normal people. Normal people, I feel, are not morning people because we tend to be night owls or stay up a little bit later, and our day starts at maybe 10:30. But so to be up at full go early in the morning is definitely a challenge. But again, I know I said a lot, but I just really am proud of the man that you've become, because to be so young and then to make certain decisions that you made along the way since then to be who you are now is just really phenomenal. So.
Definitely, man. Yeah, and everything you said was just so true, you know. And I used to really think about that stuff, you know, once I started my journey, once I got into Christ and stuff. And, you know, I remember those conversations we used to have, man, just inside those trucks, man. It's crazy, you know. I was only there for a few hours, but man, the conversations I had with you, conversations I had with Tommy, conversations I had even with Yuri back then, Yuri and Joe. Man, that was so profound. You know, I still think about a lot of that stuff. You know, I talk with my wife about conversations I had just in those trucks, man, early in the morning, and I would just be in there just pondering about life. Like, man, you know, like, what's my next move? Like, you know, I remember when I found out my wife was pregnant while I was there, man, I'm like, something got to give, you know, like my whole life is already changed, and now there's this huge change, you know. It's like everything happened like that, you know. Got married, then I found out she was pregnant, and I'm like, boy, life is moving fast and still trying to turn away from that old life that I
Right.
was living. And it was just all coming, you know, and I just, people like you and like I said, everyone I mentioned, you know, those conversations always help me, you know, just being able to hear other people's perspectives. And I'm like, man, you know, I gotta take that to heart, like that right there, that's real, you know. I gotta find out how I can apply that to my life. And man, that's what I was around that time of my life, man. That 2010 to 2013 were like some of the most important years of my life, because that's where I was setting that foundation. I was laying the foundation of where I am now. You know, back then I was just, man, you know, I need to take some of that stuff I was doing then. I need to start doing a lot of that stuff again right now, because it was just so important. I was just like, man, I'm trying to get to the next point in my life, and I was just serious about it, man. And I was doing everything I had to, you know. But let's get into this, man. My first question is always the same on the podcast, man. I want you to talk about what your relationship was with your dad.
Okay, I want to answer that in just a second, but what you just said was so key, and I think that's something that our listeners need to hear again, how you lined up the information and made it relevant to your life. So all those stories, it wasn't just talking, it wasn't just time wasted, but you lined up the information and made it relevant to your life, to your goals and your responsibilities that were coming up and everything like that. So that's very important for us to remember, because that's why we go to church. We take information and line it up with our lives. We go to school and do the same thing. If you're an athlete, when you're practicing and learning the playbook and everything, you're taking information and lining it up with your life. So that's how we can make it make sense and make it relevant, and then we can apply the energy that we need to in order to be successful. And that's exactly what you did. So I just wanted to, let it just not miss that point, because that's really that can be life changing for a lot of us. But as far as relationship with my dad, I'll put it like this: I saw him for the first time in person at his viewing the day before they put him in the ground.
Wow.
So yeah, I didn't have one, and it seemed like it didn't have very many father-like substances around in my life either. I acquired some father figures later in life, but with him not being there, well, not even a presence. I talked to him for the first time, I think, when I was 16 on the phone, and then I talked to him when I was 19, and then at 31. So it's a shame I can count on one hand how many times I talked to him. And the messed up thing about it is that when I saw him in the casket, I realized how much I looked like him. And then after a while, because he died in 2020, near my birth month, he was buried. But ever since then, for some weird reason, I see him in the mirror from time to time.
Wow.
And I noticed, and just from other people talking and stuff like that, like I'm his spitting image, and the things that people like about me as far as like giving and my personality and trying to be a funny man or whatever, but that's him. So like weird, because I am so much another person, but I don't know him. So when he died, it felt kind of weird, because it closed the door on something that, not that I necessarily wanted, but it would have been beneficial for me just to learn a bit more about myself. So yeah, I didn't have a relationship with him. And then coming up, like my stepdads and stuff like that, it was like if I had a trading card deck of characters, like it would be these dudes. And if you're of a certain age and remember the Garbage Pail Kids, it would probably be that kind of trading card, not like tops or upper deck baseball, the good stuff. Because you had like the drunk, the slob, and then I call like the maniac, who was a stepdad that really did a number on me in my early years. It was like I didn't really have any good examples of what a daddy could be. My grandpa was there, but he wasn't, in my house and stuff like that. But so there was a glimpse of it. But really, for me, because I didn't have a daddy, I gravitated toward Andy Griffith and Heathcliff Huxtable, which I don't care what y'all say, I still watch the Cosby Show. I mean, it's my favorite show all time, outside the original Twilight Zone, but that's my nerd side. But those are examples of, if I had a daddy, I would want to be like that, because Andy Griffith, he only probably yelled at Opie maybe one time. And the maniac that I lived with, for those years as my stepdaddy, it always felt loud, even when it wasn't nothing going on, but it just had that feeling of loud. It was like unsafe, and it being like prison, and all that kind of stuff. And when you see Heathcliff Huxtable, in their family, they're having fun, enjoying each other, and being around, and they have some freedom to do all kind of crazy things, that you'll see in the family that's live and vibrant and that type of thing. So those are the fathers that I not only wanted to have, but I wanted to be like. And I think that I did pretty good considering I didn't have many father figures coming up, because I'll tell you why. I say that not to pat myself on the back, but I think it's really helped illustrate the impact that. So I think I did good just from following the examples that I set for myself with Andy Griffith and his Club Huxtable, because I remember one time my baby girl, she's just like her daddy, like practical joker, think everything funny, kind of push the rules and that kind of stuff. She's just very smart, hard worker, all of those things. So she's so much like me, and she even looked like me. Even to this day, she'll be 19, July 16. And people say, you look just like your daddy everywhere she comes. And she was telling me to say, well, at least we're not ugly, so that's a good thing, But she had to be about 7, 8 years old, and we were living off of 20th back in the day. And see, my oldest daughter, she came out of the womb kicking butt. She'll be 21 this year. I mean, the girl's super driven. I mean, she is bad. Like, she gets stuff done. I rely on her a lot more than she probably even knows, because I feel like she's so much smarter than me in some ways. But she's been super responsible. But the thing is, so she was able to use the lighter, the long candle lighter, to light candles around the house. And it was, one of Daddy's weekends and all that. We man, we had some fun, man. Watching Nickelodeon shows and Disney, all that kind of stuff. Cooking good food for my girls, blowing bubbles, whatever the case may be. But also, she was lighting candles, and then baby girl like, well, Daddy, I want to light candles too. I was like, I don't know, Ma. I don't know. You gotta be pushing it sometimes. I don't know if you can be trusted. So I held her hand and we lit candles. That wasn't good enough for her. Now at this time on ESPN in the morning, on Sunday morning, they used to have hunting and stuff on. I don't know what they have on there now.
Yeah.
So I was watching that because I was getting ready to cook breakfast, and I see the hallway light up. And I see my baby girl with paper on fire, and her eyes this big. She run down the hall, and pieces just falling on the floor and everything. She finally get to the bathroom sink with just a little tip of paper in her hand. She put it in the sink so she go back to the mess she made in the hallway. And I'm like, oh, well, baby, you need some water? Oh, yeah, Daddy, give me some water, give me some water. I said, you think you need a towel or something? Yeah, Daddy, give me a towel. So she's all huffing and puffing, sweating and stuff. So once we get it cleaned up, I sit back down where I was. I said, come here, baby. I need to talk to you. He said, no, you're going to beat me. I said, do I ever beat you? He said, no, but you're going to beat me this time. Yeah. I said, no, just come here. I just want to talk to you. She took a couple steps. She still wouldn't come all the way to me. And I was like, if you don't come over here, I am going to beat you. No, I wasn't. So she finally came on over. And I sat in my lap. And I said, you just had to do it, didn't you? He said, yeah, Dad, I just couldn't help myself. I just wanted to use the lighter. I said, well, I told you not to do it, and you did it anyway, so we're going to have to do something about this. What do you think we should do? He said, well, we should have Jada beat me. I said, no, it's between me and you. I said, Jada sleep, leave her alone. It's between me and you. I said, we got to do something about this. So I'm going to let you tell me. She said, well, Daddy, I can't handle it, so I think I should never use lighters ever again. I was like, forever's a long time, Mom. You sure about that? He said, yeah, Daddy, I can't handle it. And then I said, all right, then, well, that's what you decide, and we'll go with it. So hugged my baby, sent on by the way, and it was done. It was never an issue again. Some people say, oh, maybe you should have beat her, this, that, and other thing. But the whole thing was to teach her a lesson, not only to do what you're told, but, you have to realize, what you're working with, have certain boundaries and limitations. So you might not want to push it all the time. She learned a lesson, and I got that from I felt like Andy Griffith would have done something like, handled something like that. So again, that's something that I'm proud to be able to be that for my daughters, being that I didn't really have any, consistent and positive male father figures like that.
I like that you say that. And that's something that I try to be more of, because, I've been the dad at times, man. I'm, a lot of times when I'm just getting off work, I'm tired, I go get the kids, and I find myself being so quick-tempered with them all the time, just every little thing. I'm like, what you doing that for? Why you doing that? And I'm just always just, rah, 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 rah. And then one day I was at work, and my wife texted me, and she was like, hey, I'm just texting you to let you know that Azriel broke your iPad. And she's like freaking out right now, saying that you're going to be so mad with her and all this stuff. And I'm just letting you know, like, she broke it or whatever, so that you be prepared when you get home. You just... I thought about it after she texted me. I'm like, it's all good. I was like, all right. I said, and I was mad about it, but I'm like, dang, that's how my baby feel about me. You know, like she make a mistake, and now she's like freaking out, and she's so scared about what's gonna happen when I get home, and she think I'm gonna go off. I'm like, man, you know what? When I get home, I ain't gonna say nothing. You know, so when I pulled up to the house, bro, it's like she was waiting. You know, my wife ain't tell her that she had talked with me or whatever. So when I pulled up, she opened the door. She come outside. She has like, she don't know I know nothing. So she come. She has this little sad face on. I'm like, what's going on, baby? And she was like, Daddy, you gonna be so mad. I said, what happened? She told me she broke down bad. She was like, I was looking at it in my bed, and it felt, they got bunk beds. So it fell down. She was like, Dad, I really didn't try to do it, Daddy, and it was a mistake. I'm like, Azzy, calm down. I'm like, all right, that's fine. I'm like, it's all good, you know. It's something that can be fixed. And she was like, are you mad? I'm like, no, I'm all right. I'm like, it's all good, you know. I'll get it fixed, you know. We're good. How your day been? You know, and I just went to talking with her, hugged her, give her a kiss and all that. And I'm just like, I take things so serious sometimes, you know, like an iPad. I'm like, bro, you can get that fixed. I mean, you would rather it not get broken and have to go spend $200 getting it fixed. But I'm like, it's a material thing, you know, and I got to stop getting upset about things that really don't matter that much. You know, that's something that I know I deal with. You know, I get so upset about things that once I sit back and I take a look at everything, I'm like, is that really worth yelling and screaming over, you know, and being upset? And like, it's really not that. It's like, okay, yeah, like you said, you know, you talk with them, you let them know what the business is, and, you know, and you move past that, you know, and you don't have to do all the extra stuff, because a lot of times when we're doing that, what I realize that I really don't even be mad about the situation. I be mad about other things that, you know, I might have been upset because I've been up all day, I'm tired, you know, I'm physically tired, and something comes up, and I'm not necessarily mad about what my baby is doing. I'm just mad because of something that I have going on personally with me. You know, I'm mad at myself about something else, and now my baby is getting this upset dad, not really nothing that they even do a lot of times, and I have to really recognize that sometimes that I ain't mad with them. If I go to look at the root of why I'm upset, it ain't got nothing to do with these kids. It got everything to do with me and things that I'm upset with myself about, and I take it out on my kids. And I can be honest and say that I know I do that a lot of times, and I have to catch myself like, bro, just let it go.
Well, that was one thing that I experienced with my daughters, because they were like, she made me mad. And my thing is, nobody can make you anything unless you want to be. Because if what she did that so-called made you mad, if she did it on Christmas Day, would it bother you? Probably not. You know, if this thing that got us so upset or even stressed out, if we just won the lottery yesterday, would it really bother us? Probably not. So it's not the thing, it's how we process it. And I think that's one thing that throughout my life I've been able to develop just an outlook and a philosophy that allows me to deal with stuff like that and process it. Not that I don't experience like other people, but I process it really fast, or at least I'm intentional about processing certain things to see it for what it is. Because growing up with the maniac that I was telling you about, you know, he robbed me of like several years of my childhood. So it was just like left it's not catching up to a degree throughout childhood, but there was like certain like lessons that I could learn, or things that I really didn't experience as a child, because I guess it made me grow up kind of fast in some ways too. So I was thinking about more serious things and stuff like that. So I was, I think because of that, I was like kind of thrown into a role of being a leader among kids and stuff like that. So I was always kind of mindful, even as a kid, you know, kind of like where I was leading people and stuff like that. When I had my daughters, I guess I kind of had a little head start in just what I would be as a father, and it was basically boils down to leadership. And I feel like if it's more than one person, it's either leadership or it's left to chance. Well, really even one person, because we're self-leaders, of our own lives. So if there's no leadership, then that individual or that team or that group is left to chance. And that's what you definitely don't want. So being able to have some type of, outlook and where you want to take your kids or help your kids get to, I think was very important as well. So that's what it was all kind of going on when you were talking about that with your daughter and everything. It's because it's not just that thing in that moment, but it's the other stuff that you're dealing with in life. So how do you deal with that other stuff in life? That's the question, because then that way it'll help you be the father that you want to be and that you can be. So it's that other stuff. Now, how do you really handle that? Well, again, the self-leadership and those type of thoughts will help you deal with all that other stuff, so you're going to be better in the home and everywhere else that you touch.
Oh, that's real. That's real, man. So you got 2 girls. I looked at a study a couple of weeks ago, and I was looking at how it was talking about it's basically about the relationship between dads and daughters, and how important that relationship is to the growth and development of young girls. Just having their dad there, like, just really gives them a boost almost across the board and everything, man. How would you say, with your daughters being as old as they are, you've seen a lot of stuff in the last 20 years. Would you say that you saw that, like, how is that relationship? I got 2 daughters also, like mine are 9 and 5. So I found that relationship to be a little harder than my relationship with my son. And I was explaining this to the last podcast I did. There was a woman that came on the podcast. She has a business called Alley out in LA. And it deals with that whole dynamic of dads and daughters. And I was telling her, like, how with my son, with my son, I kind of see me, it's like another me, and he's a boy, and I can relate to him. Then both of us, he's my middle child, I was a middle child.
Okay.
So I can kind of relate to my son on so many different levels, but when it comes to my daughters, it's like dealing with these girls. They're so different, bro. Like, dealing with girls is a whole different thing. My son, he off the chain too.
Yeah.
But it's like I understand it with him, cause I'm like, man, that was me. But when it comes to the girls, bro, when I tell you, it's like some days I'm like, God, how you did this to me? Like, how you gave me these girls, man? Like, they are different, bro. Everything about them is different, man. Like, it's just been a struggle. Only been 9 years that I've had children. 5 years with having 2 of them. And man, like I said, it's been difficult up until this point, just dealing with them and their attitudes and I don't know, man, just they're different. I'm like, oh my God, you gonna challenge me on this too? It's just like, it's a whole different dynamic with having girls, man. How has that relationship with you over these last 18 to 21 years been for you, just raising girls?
Well, I think it goes back for me to, like, the self-leadership part of things, because when I really started knowing more about myself and who I am, then I know what I can do, what I'm capable of, my preferences, how I respond to certain things. So all of that information is helpful when dealing with other people. With your daughters, like you said, they'll challenge you on certain ways, but then they also break you down. Like, I'm sorry, Dad.
Man,
like, who can resist that? So, but the lesson still has to be taught. Despite them breaking you down, there's a greater good that you have to think about. So I think for me, just my time of self-discovery, it allowed me to have, like, the perspective that I could deal with different things. Also being what I guess people call a people person, I'm kind of used to dealing with lots of different personalities and stuff like that too. But it always kind of goes back to, for me, like the self-leadership part of things, like who am I, and you know, what am I, like basically kind of like where do I fit in as a father? You know, I fit in as a leader, an example, maybe a disciplined person, a servant at times. You know, so those are specific roles, and then you have a certain expectation attached to each one of them. So we put the overall label of it as a father, but you're a different person, and your kids will see different parts of you at different times, you know? And so again, for me, it's just like having a sense of like, kind of like who I am, how do I operate and stuff like that. One thing I know about myself, and this again goes back to the self-leadership stuff, if nothing else, I'm a connector and teacher. That's just what I do. My job title might change 100 times, but I'm a connector and teacher at heart. So that I was just very intentional about teaching my daughters, because we want to give them everything that we never had, but I feel like we should teach them stuff that we should have learned earlier. And that's what I was always doing, because God gives to them, give them to us their gifts, but I'm thinking like they're a kid right now, but this is a woman, you know, that I'm, you know, going to be helping raise. And they're only a kid like that, you know, and it's too bad, because I'll be wanting those days back when we'd be on a weekend, I, you know, made some good food and we watching Victoria Justice or iCarly or something like that. Man, my day could not be better. Like that's as good as it could get for me, you know, with my daughters, you know.
Man, my daughter still be watching iCarly to this day, man. Crazy.
Yeah, so, you know, so, and you know, it's 7 o'clock, you know, they got a Disney premiere or whatever, Wizard of Waverly Place or whatever, you know, I'm there, I'm dialed in, you know. I missed one game, I think Tim Tebow and the Gators went to LSU, you know, the Death Valley for the big game. And it was going to be the, you know, the game of games. But I'm at my mama's house in Temple with my daughter and my baby girl sitting in my lap, we watching Heckle and Jekyll, you know, cartoons. I missed the game, but it didn't even feel like it was a sacrifice for me, because like where else would I really want to be than with my daughters, you know, and doing something that meant something to them, because games are going to come and go, but they're only that age for a certain amount of time. And you think about the time that we waste as adults not doing and not living life, because we're maybe distracted or we're running from ourselves, so we engage in other things that may not end up being productive. So a kid's time is valuable too. It passes, you know, every second, you know, is valuable, because we can't get it back. So I'm thinking, yeah, she's a little girl, she's 6, 7, 8, 9, or whatever the case may be now. So we want to value that time, you know, with them. But also my thing was just realizing that they're going to be women, and they're going to need to be equipped to handle this world when I'm not around. And that's one thing that I was afraid of, like my daughters needing something, needing to know something or experience something, like being told no. You know, how do you handle that in a productive way, that you may be able to come back to that person and get a yes next time, instead of going sideways and then you break off that opportunity. And that's what I didn't want, because I feel like, especially the older that I get, like opportunity and potential, like some of my favorite words in the dictionary. Now, vacation days and free food are some great words too, and I like all of that. But you think about opportunity.
Emphasis on the free food.
Yeah, it's great words, great combination. But again, I think, you know, opportunity is very meaningful to me, because opportunity is a possibility of something happening. And like we were talking about, you know, before we got started, you know, one certain thing that we have in life is change, you know. So if there's a possibility to change, you know, great news that we can be, you know, have some type of ownership in the change that we want to see and the change we want to be also. So I know I kind of said a lot. That's
good stuff, man.
Short
that's
short
good
question,
stuff, man. You know, and that's all. Just it's important stuff, man. Because like I say, I'm always trying to learn, you know, and like people always look at me, you know, because I got a dad podcast and I do all this different stuff, and I'm like, I don't know everything about fatherhood. Don't look at me. You know, I'm still trying to learn. You know, I'm bringing guys on because I want to hear all these different stories and these different perspectives and all of these different things. People that's been doing it longer than me, it's like I've only been a dad literally for 9 years. You know, so it's only so much that I can learn within those 9 years. And I look at someone like you who got grown up children, and I'm like, boy, I'm just trying to make it though, boy, because these 9 years, boy, especially this last 2 years, I'm like ever since my baby girl started talking and moving and all that, I'm like, man, God, you gotta help me.
Yeah.
Because these jokers right here, you know, they're all, next year, my youngest, she'll be in kindergarten, so all of them will finally be in school, and man, it's like, woo, boy, this thing ain't what it was. 4 years ago when I had little babies, it's like they're all talking. And now I want to ask you about this. One of my biggest things I deal with is sibling rivalries, bro. When I tell you, I kind of understand my two younger ones. My son and my youngest daughter, they're about 10 to 11 months apart. So they were like literally back to back, and they are like, I don't know if it's the boy-girl thing, I don't know what it is, but when I tell you these kids argue, I mean, I pick up one from school, I pick up baby girl first, pick her up from school first. As soon as my son gets in the car, it's like a war. I mean, she'll say something like last week, when I picked up my baby girl, I had to go see my mom for a quick second. Okay, boom, we go and pick the other kids up. So my son gets in the car. Baby girl says, I seen Mima today. He just took that like, I don't care. You're just trying to brag. And it was a whole argument. I'm like, y'all can't be serious, man. You cannot be serious. Well, she's bragging about, like, how is that bragging? It's like they would just go back and forth. I'm like, bro, it's every day. Every day y'all get in the car, she says one thing and he come back and then it's just boom, 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 boom. And I'm like, bro, I'm gonna go crazy right now. And so how is that even something that you've dealt with? And if it is, like, how did you deal with the whole sibling rivalry thing?
Well, it may be a little bit different for me because I have daughters, and so there's constant rivalry. And I'm 45 in a couple months, so kind of I grew up in the 80s and whatnot, so sometimes mentality let them scrap, at least that's the way you feel, because back in those days, that's part of life. Yeah. But I think that it's like a lot of I put it like this, like a lot of times what we say or a decision that we made is not made in that moment. It was made 6 months ago when we picked up a certain habit, or we started buying into certain influences a year ago. Mm-hmm. So that's what is being represented right now. So I think one way that we can address stuff like that is to, and one, have a vision, like where you want to go. It may not be the grand detailed vision, but without a vision, the people perish, right? But mm-hmm. I think so does opportunity and potential. They can perish as well without a vision. So it's kind of like, I think, what type of people do we want to be as families and individuals? And then being able to, live toward that. So you're teaching, because like I said, decisions can often be made, or certain things that manifest right now are made, in the past. So it's a constant like teaching and working toward that vision of who we want to be. Mm-hmm. But as anybody will know, and yourself, sometimes you just have to do whatever you got to do in that moment. But I think it should be based on like the type of people that you want to be, not just to satisfy what's going on right now. So you don't want to necessarily break them up violently if that's not the type of people that you want to be. So it's the way you have to do it. So I guess it's the teaching and all of that work that goes on a daily basis, and then having a vision for the type of family that you want to have. Do you want to be a loving? Do you want that the Bill Cosby show type of family? If that doesn't suit you, then it might be another type of family that you have as an ideal. But so I think teaching toward that is pretty helpful in managing the daily stuff.
I get your drift, and that make a lot of sense. That just, like I say, I'm learning. That make a lot of sense. It make all the sense in the world, actually. I think my approach has to be more different because, like I say, a lot of times I'm like fresh off work, so I've been up. I'm still waking up 4 o'clock in the morning. My God, I'm still at the warehouse.
God bless you.
And man, so I'm like up at 4 in the morning most of the time, and then once I get off work, I'm going straight to pick them up from school. So it's like I've been up all day, and once I get them, it's like they get in the car, and sometimes I'm telling myself, man, when these kids get in the car, man, it's gonna be good today. We ain't doing that today. And I'm in good spirits. I'm telling myself, man, I ain't gonna buy into that stuff. I ain't gonna let that stuff bother me. Man, once they get in that car, I'm good for about 10 minutes. And I'm just like, man, I'm like, hey, just everybody just be quiet.
Yeah.
I don't want to hear no more talking in the car. You know, and I'm just going off. And I'm like, here I go. I done did it. Or I just told myself I wasn't gonna get upset about it. You know, and instead of approaching it like, can y'all just be nice to each other today?
Right.
You know,
but think about it though. Just like your physical can be exhausted, your emotional and mental can be exhausted as well. And that's what we experience at the end of a day when you start so early. I know this very well because during my college years, I went back at 31. I started at Santa Fe College. Yeah. Well, I was a kid. I started skipping school in kindergarten. By 5th grade, I wanted to quit because of math. And by 12th grade, I just wanted to get out of my mama's house because I was tired of her telling me what to do. So my smart teenage self went to the Marines so they could tell me what to do. But you know what? It was okay because it wasn't mama. So like I was okay with that. But after the Marines, I found myself working jobs. It was like one of them. I call myself like the Forrest Gump of work because I've done so many random things job wise before I went to college, and that was a lot of good experience. And it just really I was so green to the world as a kid, you know. So that really helped me grow up, just experiencing different things and having good people. I remember like John L. Brown was my supervisor. You couldn't have a better supervisor than John L. Brown. You know, John feeling for a young person because he was like, well, John L. is cool. We get the job done, but I just loved his. That's what I needed, you know, to have. So lots of learning experiences like that because I'm like, okay, you can get the job done, but you still can be cool, you know. Like John L. was chill, you know. I love that. I really thank God for him being. Oh yeah, your aunt, you know, Benita. You know, she was one of the supervisors too. Shout
out to Auntie.
She was another one, you know, as a source of good. You know, Mr. James Barton Jr., he was one of my colleagues at the time, so I had some good people at a really crucial time in my life. I was like from 19 to 23 years old, so that was very, very helpful to have. But again, I kind of bounced around to like different jobs and everything, and picked up some stuff, and but it really taught me more so what I didn't want to do. And then I was able to be very blessed with an opportunity to go to Santa Fe on a scholarship because I met a man in Gainesville Health and Fitness where I've been a member at this might be close to my 25th year now. No, 23. But anyway, it was one of them things like we were talking about coincidence or not coincidence or whatever, and things happen for a reason because I had seen this man and we had been in the gym at the same time, but we never really talked. And this one day, we happened to be the only one of our basketball buddies at lunchtime that were in the gym. We started shooting free throws and got to talking, and I let him know that I wanted to go to school because, like I said, I've been to Forrest Gump of work and tried all these other things. I'm like, okay, I didn't try the college thing, so I'm going to see what's up with that. I had no idea what he was even going for. Then he pointed me in the direction of Chuck Clemens at the Santa Fe College Foundation, and when Chuck got involved, man, stuff just went like light speed ahead. It seemed like I was in college before I even knew it, before I was even ready. And I was working 2 jobs, you know, during the time I was in college. So I was going and trying to, lead you at UPS, and also and working, at a farm, as well. So I started, as a supervisor, I had to be there before you guys. So my day would start at 2:00 in the morning. Sheesh. And then with class, and then my other job, I would have 18, 19-hour days on average, and I did that for about 5 years. So I would still have my daughters. I would pick them up from Glen Springs Elementary, and then we go to the museum, the butterfly exhibit, the Harn. Steak and Shake was our spot because it's cheap. Because during those days, I might have like $8 in my account. There was enough to feed my daughters. And like, Daddy, you don't want to eat? I said, no, baby, I'm good. Now my stomach touching my back, but I was like, no, I'm good. I just want to make sure that they enjoyed it. And we would sit in the car and just listen to the radio and talk. And that's something that they still like to do today. Go to Westside Park. And my daughters were teenagers. Said, Daddy, you want to go to the park and just sit in the car? Because during that time it meant something to them. But I was mentally and exhausted every way that you could be, physically, all of that kind of stuff. But I still thank God that I was able to be able to take the time to be who my daughters needed, despite all of that. Because you can do a lot more. And it's funny because people think about your why. Your why don't always matter. I can tell you don't always matter when you're waking up at 2:00 in the morning and knowing that you're not guaranteed to go to sleep that day. That was my life for many years. So my why didn't always matter, but it was who. Because not only was I an example for my daughters, but I thought about all the people who I could help. Because remember, I was born wanting to help save the world. So I'm thinking about when I get through this, on the other side of that, I'm going to be in a better position to be who I was born to be, which is pour into others and help them be better. And that's one thing I like to believe, is that when I cross paths with somebody, at minimum, I'm not going to leave them worse off, but if we have an opportunity to really connect, then I would hope that they'll be better from us crossing paths. That's just the way I want to serve, you know. And that started, you know, definitely with my daughters, you know, with my mindset and then my temperament and stuff like that. That don't mean I never got upset with them and stuff. Cause it would be sometimes like, don't even call me dad. You can call me Terrell right now. I don't care. I just don't want to hear daddy again, like today. You can call me T or whatever. You can call me nicknames, everything. I just don't. It's just that daddy I don't want to, you know, right now. But so it's not that you have those moments, you know, but it's like, what do you want to get back to? And then thinking about, you know, the vision of the type of people that you want to be and all that kind of stuff.
Man, that's so funny, because I tell my babies, after 8 o'clock, I ain't daddy no more. Y'all need to be in the bed. After 8 o'clock, I am not daddy, I'm husband now. Leave me alone,
but which one of them in the bed and they keep getting out? And you know,
all of them.
Oh.
Daddy, can you come give us a kiss?
Yeah.
I just gave you a kiss. Man.
Yeah, or they got a question or a thought,
But daddy, you know, like my son, he'll come on. Daddy, I got a bump right here. I said, let me see it. I do that. I said, all right, go get in the bed. He'll come back again. Daddy, my lips been hurting right here.
Something else gonna be hurting you in the bed.
These kids so funny.
Yeah, gotta love them,
man. I want you mentioned something about the Marines. Mm-hmm. How would you say that time, that your time in the military, how would you say that impacted your role as a father? You know, what did it teach you, and how did you incorporate things that you learned in the Marines to your fatherhood?
Well, there's a few things. No one like priorities, because some stuff you just got to get done because they mean more than others. And I think also being able to persevere and do stuff the right way, because your life and other people's lives can depend on it, you know. So, you know, how you do anything is how you do everything. Mm-hmm. There's a reason, you know, have purpose to, you know, what you're doing, and even the stuff that you think are trivial, realizing that it all matters in the grand scheme of things. And then also like the brotherhood is like, you know, after I went to Santa Fe, I transferred to the University of Florida, so I, you know, definitely say it's great to be a Florida Gator. There's a family there, there's a community there that I know that I'm a part of, and it just makes me feel better about that. Same thing with the Marines. It's like a brotherhood when I maybe wear a Marine shirt or go by and somewhere and you know, pass another Marine. Is like there's a bond that we have, even though I've never met this person. So the Marines was really good for just teaching a lot of life lessons that I probably wouldn't have gotten anywhere else, or I would have had to learn a harder way, even though Marines are a pretty hard way to learn some of these lessons. But it just helped, just those keys, it made me just added to me as a person, and that's what I was able to give my daughters, because, you know, certain things that it might not be something that I feel like doing, but I got to get it done. I got to do it right because their school is that important, you know, so it could be something related to their school or whatever the case may be. And also, I grew up, well, I'm a Florida person. I didn't really have a home until I, you know, settled in Gainesville, almost 30 years now, but growing up, about every 4 years or so we moved. So I went to elementary school in Miami. Well, I went to Lake Butler Elementary for kindergarten. That's where I did the skipping and playing hooky and all that stuff. Yeah. And then I went to elementary in Miami. Then came back to Lake Butler for middle school. Then I went to high school in Daytona, all except for 9th grade, which I did at Union County High School. So never really felt like I had a home, and even around family, I still felt like it wasn't like I was like missing out on stuff, or I had missed out on stuff. Mm-hmm. So the connection was just not. It just wasn't as deep, I guess, as it. That people would think, because we're always moving. I'm always a new person and stuff like that. So when I got to the Marines, you know, it takes somebody who's kind of like already used to moving and stuff like that, and I go halfway around the world. So what I thought was home, I was like separated from that. You know, I'm in Okinawa. You know, 18 by that time. I went to Paris Island. I was 17 years old, and I turned 18 in boot camp. But so I go halfway around the world to Okinawa. So I'm really separated from any thing resembling home and all that kind of stuff. So then you have to develop a new set of skills in order to thrive in that environment and not be like missing home or attached to certain things that, stuff like that. So that was just kind of forced me and caused me to embrace where I was at, make the most of it. And that was definitely something that I've been able to use in my life ever since then. When you go to a new job, it's a new environment, find a way to embrace it and be successful in that new situation, like becoming a dad, find a way to embrace it, and all those type of things. So the Marines was really good for that. Structure, for sure, being organized and all that kind of stuff. So they hurry up and wait, because sometimes if you want to handle business, that's what you got to be. So a lot of life skills that were there. The Marine Corps, the values of honor, courage, and commitment is stuff that I, remember. I represent that. Like I represent, even though at this age, still represent the Marine Corps to certain people, because that's a part of that bond, that family, that community. So I still represent that, even to this day. So, because even I had talked to a friend the other day, and I mentioned that I was in the Marines, and they were like, "Well, so if you're in the Marines, you were such and such, right?" I'm like, "Well, in theory, I could be, because that's what Marine Corps brand is, but." For me as an individual, maybe not. I mean, I'm just thinking this, but they still had an awareness of that association with Marine and then certain traits and values and stuff like that. So that actually, I know it may sound corny, but it's something that I try to live up to, even now, because I, have made a choice to be a part of that brand, and I want to represent it well. So.
Yeah, that's what's up. That's some good stuff there, and I would say I could see that type of stuff in you, even when I was in you were my supervisor, man. Like, you just always had this, we're gonna do this, you're gonna boom, boom, boom. And I used to be like, man, I ain't doing that junk today. I don't care what. And it's like you would come in the truck, and I remember this one time you challenged me. I think you was like, man, you need to quit being a kid. You need to quit acting like a kid. I'm like, man, Terrell, bro, I do not care, bro. Like, I don't care about none of that, what you're talking about. And it's just, you just always had this, just like, regardless of what I said, it's like you always would come back. It was just always, I used to be like, I'm gonna make him mad, he ain't gonna never want to talk to me again, And it was just, you just always came back, and it was just this thing with you, and I'm like, dang, this man be making me mad, bro. It was like you had this, I don't know what it was about you, man, but it was just, you were consistent, when it came to what we needed to do, safety-wise, just always this thing is boom, boom, boom. This is how we gonna do this. This is what we need to do. This is what we gotta get done today. And it was just always this thing. So I'm like, I didn't know you was in the Marines, but that make a lot of sense, just seeing that, just seeing how you were. I'm like, I got another friend, named Jeremy, who was in the Marines, and he no nonsense, he gonna handle his business, he gonna boom, boom, boom. It's everything with him is structured, right? And I always admired that about him, just everything he does is, if he say I'm gonna be here at this time, he gonna be there. Yeah. He say he gonna do this, he gonna do that. Yeah. If he can't do it, he gonna say no, I can't do that. It's just everything with him. It's like he was on the podcast, and I was telling him, like, that's just one thing I always admired about him, like that with him. And everybody, mostly everybody I know who's in the military has that thing about them where they're, kind of no nonsense. I'm gonna do this. If I tell you this, I'm gonna do it. Right. I'm gonna be on time. I can definitely see that in you. It's funny you say that.
Well, I think one thing that comes to mind too is that you have to work hard to make life easy sometimes, and that sounds like a counter. I heard a different statement, but who really is the best example of that during our UPS days was Anthony Jackson.
I remember him,
bruh.
Man, that man don't walk. He walked with purpose, boy.
Thank you. And he was doing his work, my work, and other people's work. And I'm like, how's the cat doing this? And he looking good down here, and I'm struggling just to do my own thing. But it was like, look at the speed that he moved, you know, and then his mind was just geared to see things in a certain way that he could, work faster and stuff like that. So that's what really taught me that, was watching him. And I'm like, oh, that's the level that I need to get to. Because
that was like a saying at UPS. I think what was the saying, like they used to always walk briskly.
Oh yeah,
something like
walk,
that.
don't run.
Like,
yeah.
Shoot, well, like it's too early to be talking about walking brisk.
Right.
It's like, what's his name? Derek used to always tell me, you need to be walking. You ain't walking brisk.
Yeah.
Leave me alone.
Yeah. But I think when you had that mindset though, and work hard to make it easy, that's for the better of the group. So me being consistent was to get, make sure that our performance was at a certain level, because it's gonna be better. We had to work hard in order to get the boss lady to see what they needed to see, and to get deliveries out on time and everything. But so that's what it all was, because it's love. Ultimately it may be tough love, and in the moment I can't always, sit and talk to people that like we could right now. Kind of when you're doing on the fly, but that's definitely where it's always coming from, a place of love and want us to be as in good a shape as possible. Because if we're not, if we're late, then that's going to reflect on us. We're going to get more people messing with us and scrutinizing what we do. And that's my thing, was to keep everybody out of our business. Like that's like the main thing. So if we do what we're supposed to do the way we're supposed to do it, they ain't got to be looking at us and messing with us, and they can just reward us for us being better than everybody else.
That's real. Another thing I wanted to ask you about was you mentioned how you went to school. It's funny that I didn't know you went to school at 31. That's when I went back to school, man. And I wanted to ask you about that journey. I know for me, going back to school with kids and working full time and all this stuff, people saw everything that I was doing and was always wondering, like, man, how do you, like, going to school full time, working full time, 3 kids, a wife, still doing stuff in the community and all this. And I'm just like, man, I'm trying to create a different life for myself, and what was your motivations, and what made you say at 31, man, I'm going back to school?
Just really, I guess, like being sick and tired of being sick and tired, and I knew I needed to make some changes, because I had a new philosophy in life. So in my life prior to going to college, I guess it was based on the outlook and the philosophy that I had at that time. But then when I kind of like had my rebirth, which was caused by what really a low point, I don't know if it was the lowest, but it was certainly close to it, but it caused me to look inward. And what is it about me that like allows these type of things to happen in my life? Definitely it was a woman had this. So I feel like, man, this like our relationship with like Lucy and Charlie Brown with that football, she keep on out and he dumb enough to keep running and try to kick it. So at a certain point, I'm like, okay, enough is enough. Because I feel like I don't know what I'm worth, but I know I'm worth more than that. So what is it about me that So I started looking in, and I made a commitment to just love everybody, period. I don't care what you look like, where you come from, what language, okay, love everybody. And just made a commitment to do that and to be as positive as I can, what I think, say, and do, which is daily work, definitely something that I practice, and it's kind of autopilot to a degree in some ways, but you're still human, so you get pulled in directions or a lot of stuff to be pulled out of you. But making that commitment to do that, it put me in a state to where now I'm a person of opportunity, and I can see value. And that was one thing too that was really important, because I learned like there's creators and consumers, and at any given time we can be either one, but like, what do you, in your dream of dreams, like what type of person do you really want to be? And I think we should aspire to be creators, because when you create value and then you share value, then it's a relationship, like it's just an exchange that takes place, and you're going to benefit from creating that value, whether it's doing like you're doing with the podcast, or it could be a police, or it could be a teacher, it could be an engineer, or whatever, creating value, artist or entertainer or whatever. So creating value in the way that you're equipped and passionate about, creating that value. Some people could be in front of the camera or behind the camera, but still being able to create and give and bring value into the world. And I've thought about myself, how do I do that? Because I know I love to make friends and talk to people and help them. I always want people to feel better and do better, but what can I do with that? And I'm like, shoot, I can be like Black Dr. Phil, I'd be on TV because people always come to me with that stuff, even during 2020, there were several people that came to me to help look for jobs, and that's not even what I do. And I thought, why are they coming to me for this? Because I can get the job done. Who else are they going to turn to? I know Terrell got them, so I knew that, thing about creating value and how could I do it. And over time, I was able to learn that, and that's why I met the amazing Tara Blythe when we were at the UF Foundation, and she just noticed this connector and teacher, and I was like, how do you know me and you don't even know me like that? But she knew me, you know what I'm saying? She picked up certain things, and that was really gave me the confidence to embrace who I was, who had already been. So having that type of just the thoughts and the learning and all of that experience has really helped me when I was in the going through college, and even since then making choices after that, because it was a lot that obviously I wanted to get out of the whole deal of going to college, but a lot was not defined. It was like a question mark to it. So being able to have this, the self-learning and this commitment to just be something that I had never been, that really helped me get through it, because I was doing it not just for me. I was doing it for who I wanted to become, and then what I could share with other people. So that's really what I had a different mindset about the college thing, because it wasn't about a job. It was more about like who I could become, and then what I could do with that.
Good stuff, man. And that was, I can agree with all that, because that's something that, I saw for myself. I'm like, I want to be able to create opportunities, not just for myself, but for others. I want to be able to give people platform. I want to be able to help. I just want to be able to help just in general, Like you say, I'm saying where people come to me with all type of stuff. I'm like, bro, who am I? Well, I don't know, but I can try to find out for you, and just help out as much as possible. And that's definitely, I can agree with all that.
I think that's what we're put here for, is that we kind of like if I had my fingers spread out like this, well, when I put them in, fill in the gaps, there's a bridge there, there's a bond, so I think that's how we can be like cohesive and, strong together. Because, you have, our friend Tommy, great photographer, that he can help with certain things. 'Cause I learned a lot from him just as far as doing the work that he does. And really, I discovered his business may not even be photography, it's people, and then that made me think that, okay, pretty much whatever we do is for others, the consumption of others. So if you are an artist, you don't want to paint and hang it up in your bathroom, you want to share it with the world. And then there's lots of bands back in the day that were started in garage, rock bands starting in the garage, but they want to go and rock the world and not just annoy their neighbors with all the noise, what I'm saying? So finding how we can create value for others, but I guess it's just a matter of finding your people, who you're supposed to serve, and then just maybe equipping yourself and having the experiences that you can use to serve them well.
That's real, man. That's some good stuff there. A few more questions. At this point in your life, we're having a 21-year-old and almost 19-year-old. What would you say you could do better at as a dad? Like, if it was just one area.
Oh man.
Like, what could you be better at?
Oh, I'm glad you said one, because I'm like, Lord, it's probably me. That's a good question, because there's a lot that I feel like, but maybe there's a lot that I can put in one thing. So I want to say kind of knee-jerk, it just be more attentive and like proactive, and like, because it's easy being that they're grown and in college to just kind of let them do their own thing. And try not to bother them, because I know they're busy and stuff. So we text a lot, we do video and stuff like that. But physically see them, I want to see them more, because, tomorrow's not promised. So that'd be one thing, just the time, because that's the most valuable resource that we have. So spending more physical time with them. And that's one thing like I admire about my friend Andre, because with his kids, he's like physically with them on a regular basis. And his daughter's in college and stuff. He has some younger ones too. But so that's one thing that I guess I would do better, just better using my time to be in their space more.
Now that's a good one. That's a very good one, man. It kind of reminds me of that question, this thing that people always say, parenting doesn't end at 18.
Right.
Because your kids are in college or whatnot, it's like, they're still your kids, even if they don't live with you anymore. These are still your children, and it's still important, to put that time in. I think some people look at it as, well, I'm just raising this child until they're 18 and then that's it. Like, nah, you know, I had to tell my dad some years ago once we finally started getting that relationship with each other. You know, I told him straight up, bro, I'm in my 30s now, got my own kids and got my own wife. I still need you as a dad. I still need you, bro. Like, you know, I ain't grow up with my dad, you know, and I need him just as much now as I needed him back then growing up. You know, I still need that support. I need to be able to hear from my dad, and I need to hear my dad say, I love you. I need that stuff. Like, I ain't speaking for nobody else. Me, I need that.
Yes, sir.
I need that, and I long for that at times. You know, I still like to be able to know, like, dang, you know, like, sometimes my pops call me, don't be wanting nothing, you know, but sometimes he just call me in, he talk about whatever, and then we get off the phone and say, well, I just wanted to call you, son, you know, I love you. Yeah. I'm like, I love you too, Pops. You know, and it make me feel good to know that, dang, you know what, my Pops thought about me, you know, and he called me, you know, and it doesn't end at 18, you know, kids are going to always need that support, especially if you here, you know, if you still living, you know, because like you say, bro, it ain't, every day is not promised, man, so we got to make as much time as we gonna have with our children, and if we could talk to them, call them, see them, you know, we got to make every effort.
Right. Yeah, because you look in nature, like those babies, like say a wildebeest baby or something, they got to kind of grow up fairly quick. So that parenting cycle is a lot different than ours, because they got to be ready to run from a lion or something, you know, probably a few minutes after they're born. But a human baby is a lot different in that, because our minds are so powerful, that, and there's a lot of things that we can do with that over the course of a lifetime. So the parenting cycle should basically extend to, I guess, I don't know, who knows, infinitely, through the course of however long they're alive. But so that's, you know, very interesting that you know, talking about that dynamic with your daddy, because and that, you know, definitely encouraged me to, you know, keep, you know, pursuing opportunities to be with my daughters, because they may think that, and it's speaking of me as a teenager and even as an adult, but may not necessarily want the parent around, but we need them around, you know. And it may not be life lessons, but just them being interested in your life can be all of the encouragement that you need to just do a little bit better, whatever the case may be. So they're definitely key. But so I guess the moral of that little story, or this little segment, is just like using that time, you know, wisely. You know. And,
man. Gots to do that. That's something I think about on a daily. You know, just thinking about, you know, as much as I'm tired at times, I'm like, I gotta make that time. You know, I have to make time. You know, a lot of people say I couldn't find the time, and I'm like, you don't try to find it. If you try to find it, you'll make every excuse and not find it. But you gotta make the time. You know, I gotta create the time. Whatever it is I gotta do, I gotta create that, because I ain't gonna never find it. Because if we being honest, sometimes we ain't even looking. I
know, right?
You know, we'll say, I'm gonna find it. Like, no, you're not. You ain't even gonna look for it. You know, so we gotta create that time to do the things that we know we got to do. You know, sometimes I'm so tired and my son wanna go throw the football or something, and I'm just like, man, we're gonna take them jokers to the park or something. You know, just to give them that, because I know as much as I'm tired, you know, I think about movies like the movie Courageous. Movie that I think it was like 2012, 2013 or something, and there was a scene in the movie where the guy was waiting on his friend to go in the store or something, and his daughter was out in the car with him, and she got out the car, a song came on in the car, and she got out and started dancing, and she was like, Daddy, come dance with me, and he was like, nah, you got it, I'll just watch. And I think like the next day, bro, she got in a car accident. She died.
Oh, dang.
And man, that thing played in this man's mind like every day. He like, I should have danced with her. I should have took the time. And it was just killing. His wife was like, you can't think like that. He was just like, I should have did it, you know. But he still had an older. At one point, he was grieving for like, you know, a few months. And at one point, his wife had to come in the room and just tell him straight up, like, you still have another child. He had an older son who was in high school that he didn't spend time with. But yeah, man, that part of that movie was like very powerful, and it just always speaks to me every time I think about it. But we're going to go ahead and close this one out, man. I definitely appreciate you coming on, bro. You know, this was everything I needed. I always learn something every time I sit down talking with someone. I just want to say thank you, my man, for coming on, for real.
Thank you. Thank you so much.